Okay, YouTube. Todd here again, some guitar guy, another video. Today I want to kind of take an opportunity to do the two birds with one stone thing and combine ideas. I've had an idea to promote this site I've pulled up, pure-gas.org, since I found it maybe a year or so ago. And then I've also had the idea floating around about like the top three pieces of advice I can give to a new Suzuki Savage, Boulevard S40, or LS650 owner. So I thought, well, why not, just kind of instead of two videos, kind of combine the two. So that's what we're going to do. So as far as the advice, yes, every day of the week, twice on Sunday, hands down, end of story. Ethanol free is the way to go with these bikes. Um, it is it's a much better fuel. Well, it's about 10% better because it doesn't have ethanol in it. Ethanol by itself is and was for years a great additive to gasoline, but when you jump up to 10%, it really has a lot of detrimental effects. So, and this side, I kind of came with that was one of my first questions personally was well, what fuel should I use? So I'm not going to do all the research for you and lay out all the math. I'll leave that to you. I will give you some resources for that. Make your own decision. But I'll give you enough to kind of get you started. This is, in a lot of ways, this is where I kind of started. I was never a fan of the idea of ethanol from the start, simply for, or E10, because we're burning our fuel, or burning our food for fuel. And that just never seemed to be a really great idea. But and the cell was reduced emissions and lessened dependence on foreign countries for crude oil. And we see how those last two have worked out. Yeah, we're not any more independent than we were. But scrolling on down, this question here, why does pure gas give better gas mileage? Well, because it's pure. It's not watered down or ethanol down. And the reason I say that is because pure gasoline has more potential energy than pure ethanol. So you are, in effect, diluting the gasoline. Now, the cell and the industry standard here is that your mileage is reduced by 3% with E10, and even more, 25% with the 85. Okay, so I wanted to test that. Now, if your vehicle's not rated to run E85, absolutely do not run it. You will damage the vehicle, probably critically. But I did a little experiment, and I'll leave a link to this in the description. Posted my results here on the SuzukiSavage.com site, and you see it's only been read 72 times, so that's really not a good sign. Looks well. Yeah, I posted almost a year ago. And I'm going to come back to these, at least this top tier gas site that I referenced. But it turns out on the Savage, and really didn't expect, I wasn't shocked to see this, but I didn't expect it to be so much. The difference is a lot more than 3%. It's 16%. So that's what, over 5 times better fuel mileage with pure gas. And of course, it stands to reason the engine's producing more power. How many horsepower? I don't know. And it's more of a quality thing than in subjective. I would say I'm sure there's a formula somewhere. Maybe an engineer or something could answer that question. But 16% is, that's pretty substantial. Ironically, with the car, with the 2011 Mazda, I basically saw no difference in fuel mileage. What I did notice was a slightly lower idle speed, like maybe 100 RPM. The engine did seem to run and accelerate smoother, but that's subjective. The only other objective thing I noticed was when the AC compressor kicks in, the engine was not labored at all, where it seemed really labored using E10. And I guess that's still kind of subjective. But the car, the big difference between the two vehicles, the car has tons of sensors inside, including an O2 sensor, to help it adjust for the difference in not really potential energy, but because of the potential energy and probably other factors, E10 requires a richer mixture. So the car can dynamically adjust where the bike really can't. Now, could you go in and tune the auto mix? Yes, which you should. And I did. I did not have to rejet it. Was able to tune the auto mix fine without rejetting. That's all you would need to do. Um, and that was still a 16% difference in fuel mileage. So, it's just an inferior fuel. And then this question here too, what about ethanol in politics? That's really what gets me on this, because this is a politically driven fuel, and you can think our Midwestern states are corn producing states, and they're extremely well paid lobbyists for basically taking the choice away from you. And then I'm gonna touch on this. The question is, but isn't pure gas more expensive? It is. Do you know why? Well, it's because of federal and state tax incentives. So our tax money, and specifically mine, talking about me, that's what pisses me off, is I'm paying for E10 whether or not I use it. Uh, and then I have to pay more for ethanol, 50 cents more per gallon for ethanol free. Um, so, you know, you kind of get screwed either way, I guess. But he gives some other ways to test if the fuel has ethanol in it, and so on and so forth. But really good place to get started. If you want to continue that research, I would, and I'll link this video too here. I'm subscribed to them, Engineering Explained. There's, as you can see, several other similar videos come up. But he really breaks it down kind of in the long term, the whole theory behind mining, and then release CO2, and how corn absorbs CO2 and all that kind of stuff. And we're not even close to breaking even. This was a fallacy that was sold to the American public. Like I said, thanks to our corn producing states and their lobbyists. So yeah, I'd strongly, every day of the week, twice on Sunday, ethanol free, hands down, period, end of story. Really, for any bike or any car, but especially for these, because they simply do not have the ability to adapt dynamically to E10. All right, so kind of jumping more into the site. And let me kind of give a shout out to I don't know him, Sam Hoken. I guess I'm pronouncing that right. He's just basically some guy. He's a biker, physics teacher, computational biologist, whatever that is. And and this, and he saw a need for the site, had the skill set to do so. And I think it's been up probably over 10 years. I just discovered it last year. And maybe the coolest thing is this question here: who maintains the data? Well, it's user driven. Everything is user driven. We do as the user. So let's go back to his homepage. He used to have a map feature, but he's disabled that because of cost, and there is no cost for the users. So he's funding this. that was really helpful to me, being a bit of a visual learner. But maybe that'll come back. Either way, there you can still find a list, and I'll just go over. We'll click on my state. You see there's coming on 17,000. There's probably more, they just haven't been listed. Close to 17,000 stations nationwide and in Canada. A little over 600 in my state. And you see you can print these, you can print selected, whatever in your area, when they were last updated. And this one's been a while, but it's actually still there. This the globe icon will give you the option to download a nav file. The map icon takes you to Google Maps. It's pretty cool. Shows you a little picture with the address. Sometimes the phone number's there. You can whatever navigate there if you want. And then the details generally provide phone numbers and a little bit more information, who updated what, so on and so forth, and what the octane rating is for whatever ethanol fuel is there. So that's a good feature. I do hope the maps feature comes back, but the list is still there. I will say he does have an app for both Android and iPhones. We'll take a look at that real quick. I have the app. Again, it's free, and it does have the map feature. Let's look at the iPhone here. So here's what the map screenshot looks like. Night and day versions, and it lists them by proximity from you, so it's dynamic. Pretty cool little app, especially being free, and especially if you're kind of on the move. But to add a station, you have to go through the website, and that's pretty self-explanatory too. You just fill in the blanks, and then a little captcha down there to make sure you're not a spammer or whatever. Let's see, what else was I going to? Did I want to? Bumper stickers and whatnot. He does have a fair amount on a site called, which I was not familiar with, Cafe Press. T-shirts and whatever. I think after I do this video, I'm going to order this, but it won't be small. It won't be large either. It'll be. Oh, he doesn't have it. That's why I hadn't ordered yet. I need a extra large. But a lot of cool stuff on this site. Say no to ethanol. I love that. Hoodies, sweaters, mugs, water bottles, aprons, doggy shirts, and lots of other things too. So, and that does help support his site. So give that a look. And then he has this card sheet, which I need to do this too. Print these off. These, whatever. Printer ink is maybe not cheap, but a few of these. Leave them with your friends. Leave them at stations that do offer pure gas, so on and so forth. So a lot of little tidbits, I guess, that kind of come with this. And you can subscribe to the RSS feed when there's an update. And I did want to show this too. The monthly updates chart. I'm not real sure how to read this along this axis with the zeros, ones, and twos. That's probably the more telling. And a lot of this is just us, the users. Probably not that many stations growing. Some of that is, but us actually listing stations on there. So if you know of them, they're not listed, please do. And I'll leave links to all that in the description. I want to go back to the top tier gas. Go to the home page. I'll link it in the description. Top tier is something I found also in my search. I think it's a good program overall. It was developed by automakers and truck commercial truck makers. You have the top tier diesel too. Um, and you see right here, this is the real top tier fuels came about in response to the trend, automotive trend for direct injection engines. And that's the why, because they found that's the problem, gasoline direct injection engines. And I don't think there are any motorcycle brands offering direct injection yet. But that's the problem. The intake valves gunk up and they won't seat and they burn and so on and so forth. And they cite a not AMA, but they cite a just lost the name. They cite research performed by the AAA. I'm sorry, um, which was really good research, but take this and everything else really with a grain of salt, because the AAA and they went into great details, very scientific and so on and so forth, and it did show a significant reduction in intake valve buildup in a GDI engine. However, the trade-off was, compared to non-top tier fuels, the internal combustion chamber buildup was much greater. So I like top tier fuels, but I am on the fence. I mentioned this at this part of your research. Make your decision. I don't personally only run top tier fuels. I do when I can, because I think it is overall more detergents and all that kind of stuff. But I don't have a GDI car or motorcycle, and I really don't want my combustion chamber gunking up any more than it does, normally. So, make your decision on that. And then finally, in your research, I'm going to link this. I'm subscribed to this channel. It's a great channel, Engineering Explained. Ton of great content. And this was just uploaded in March. And you can read the title. But he goes into really in depth about how we were kind of baited, I suppose, into buying this whole ethanol thing, and that it's renewable, and on and on and on, and that we it's just not. That's just not the case. And you see there's a ton of other similar, well, there's some ones that have nothing to do, like explain calculus to a sixth grader. But YouTube, Google, do your research. And I would encourage you to kind of back to the pure gas side. If you're just buying your bike on your way home, top it off with pure gas, burn that tank out, and then the next tank will, of course, will be your first full tank full of pure gas, and maybe even try it versus E10. If you've been running E10, you'll have to do the same process, top off, and then burn that out, and then you have a full tank full. Adjust the idle mix. You will, more than if you've been running E10, you're going to have to run a little bit leaner mix to get the most benefit. Track your fuel mileage. Track what you notice about how the bike responds, if the throttle response, and so on and so forth. If you're looking for easy power, this is probably the easiest you're going to get. And with these bikes getting, I usually get about 65. Let's see what I was getting here. With E10 I was right around 50, and then 58 and 60 with pure gas. So these bikes getting 50 to 60 miles per gallon. I've even gotten more than that. I think my high was 81 miles per gallon. But I also got some really good. I got 61 mpg on my first tank of E10. So Yeah, it is 50 cents more per gallon, and gas prices are sadly steadily rising. But give it a shot. Love to hear your feedback. Please remember, like, share, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, love to hear you guys' feedback. And until next time, two wheels down.